hall number 4. Invitation cards are available at outside the halls 2A, 2B, 2C, and 2D. Also, however, entry will continue with the badges provided by the organizers to all delegates, invitees, and exhibitors. The time for technical session on 5th of November has been preponed from 10:30 to 1 o'clock to 9:30 to 12:30. For security reasons, the entry to the venue on 5th November shall be from gate number 3. Once again, a very good afternoon to all the esteemed panelists and our guests. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all again to the 7th edition of India Water Week, a 5-day conference on water with its overall theme as water security for sustainable development with equity. We have our next session on So we have a next technical session on National Hydrology Project. I invite our chair, Shri Anand Mohan, to please join us on the stage. Shri Anand Mohan, Joint Secretary for NPH, Ministry of Jal Shakti. He has over 26 years of experience as an IAS officer. He has worked in various capacities in various departments of Government of Rajasthan, Ministry of Urban Development, Department of Consumer Affairs, Indira Gandhi National Forest Academy. Currently, he is the Joint Secretary in Department of Water Resources, River Development and Ganga Regeneration, Ministry of Jal Shakti and National River Conservation. Now I invite our reporter, Dr. Sanjay Kumar Jain. Dr. Sanjay Kumar Jain is currently serving as a scientist G and head in the Water Resources Systems Division of National Institute of Hydrology, Roorkee, and nodal officer of National Hydrology Project. He's working in the field of remote sensing and GIS for the last 33 years. His area of specialization is snow, glacier, melt, runoff modeling, glacier changes, and glacier lake outburst modeling, application of remote sensing and GIS in reservoir sedimentation, river morphology. Can we have a huge round of applause for our chair and reporter? Thank you so much. Now I request our chair, Shri Anand Mohan, to please come up on the stage to say a few words as opening remarks.
It is the 4th day of this India Water Week, and that too an afternoon after the lunch. It's quite difficult a session for all the speakers who are going to follow after my introduction to them. In fact, we are going to have a very serious discussion on getting an update, understanding the National Hydrological Project, which is being implemented by the Government of India, Ministry of Jal Shakti, across all the states of our country. This project is very futuristic in nature because we are dealing with a very important and scarce resource, which is water. As a country, we get the rainfall, which is the prime source of the water in our case, for a period of 3 to 4 months, depending upon which area we are in our country. And then starts our entire endeavor in having a database, designing things to manage and to conserve this water for the year round. So this project is primarily meant to create a scenario where our states, they get the desired amount of, knowledge in this area, plus the equipments, the apparatus, and above all, the ecosystem to deal with these things. Frankly speaking, if you don't manage the water in the best way, it can either create droughts and it can also create floods. So holistically, if this resource has to be managed for the benefit of the country and the people in our nation, we need to uh, look beyond that. Why I'm saying that this project is futuristic in nature, because so far the management has been very much based on our own human intervention, where definitely we have been using equipments, this resource, but the days which are, I mean, in the years ahead of us, we need to do it more scientifically, using less manpower, high degree of automation, and that could only happen if we implement this project in the real sense, so that ecosystem can be created. Today, we have 6 speakers before us, and they are all eminent in their own fields. So I will just name them, and the those speakers will join on the stage with us, and one by one they will go ahead with their set of presentation which they are supposed to do this afternoon. Speaker one is Sri Rakesh Kashyap. He is the Senior Joint Commissioner, NHP. Please welcome him. Second speaker would be is Miss Anju Gaur. He is the task team leader, World Bank, New Delhi office. And among us, the third speaker is Sri Sarad Chandra, Director, Central Water Commission, New Delhi. Please come here. The fourth speaker is Ms. Doreen Blah, Additional Chief Engineer, Water Resources, Government of Meghalaya. Yesterday I was in Meghalaya. I have seen her work, and I have seen the team she has built up in that particular state. A round of applause she requires. I mean, she is such a department that they have done a commendable job there. And this fifth speaker is Sri Sanjay Agarwal Sahab. He is Super Engineer, Water Resources, Government of Rajasthan. Sir. May I welcome हमारे बीच में माननीय मंत्री जी पधार गए हैं. पधारे. आप पधारे. और छठे स्पीकर होंगे SR कार्तिक साहब, बट आप इस वक्त विराजे क्योंकि चेयर्स यहाँ पर थोड़े एक की कमी है. ठीक है, थैंक यू.
We have with us Shri Prahlad Singh Patel, Honorable Minister of State for Jal Shakti and Food Processing Industries. He's a Member of Parliament from Damoh Lok Sabha constituency. I request our Chair, Mr. Anand Mohan, to please felicitate Shri Prahlad Singh Patel. Can we have a huge round of applause? Thank you so much, sir, for taking up the time and being a part of this session. So, every speaker over here will get exactly 10 minutes, and I request you to please stick to the time. I'll give you a heads up before 1 minute, and at last at 10 minutes, I'll give it will be a time up. So to start with, I request Shri Rakesh Kashyap, Joint Commissioner, National Hydrology Project, New Delhi, to please come up on the stage. Can we have a huge round of applause, please?
Thank you, ma'am. Honorable Minister of State, Jal Shakti and Food Processing Industries, Honorable Chairman of the session, and the other speakers on the dais, in the national and international delegates. So since the time is limited, I'll be very quickly going through my presentation. So in fact, if we see that, you can see the topic of the presentation, it is the challenges in water sector. So basically, our challenges are well known, and have been known from the decades, and we are working over it. So what's new in it? So basically, we will be discussing some of the challenges which we are facing and how National Hydrology Project is dealing with those challenges. So if we see that since our independence for the first 4 decades, we have been working over the development of water resources. So the major challenge is water security, and if I add to it, it's the extreme event management. So for water security, and establishing water security, we have been focusing earlier on the development of water resources. Then in the next 2 decades, we realized that resources as well as the opportunities are limited. So then we shifted our focus on water management. So basically, for managing water, we should know our water well. So National Hydrology Project is about that, where we have to focus on the we have to focus on the knowing our water resources well. So basically, National Hydrology Project, this is a Government of India's central sector scheme, which is being implemented on pan-India basis with the help of 48 implementing agencies. And the total outlay is 3680 crore, and we are getting the support from the World Bank in the form of loan. And the duration is 8th year, and right now we are in the 6th year of implementation. So for the ease of doing the business under the project, we have divided it into the 4 components. That is the monitoring system, information system, operating and planning system, and of course, one is which is the most important. It is the institutional capacity enhancement. So once I said that challenges, we know that challenges are water security and extreme event management. But to know our waters, what are the other challenges which we have faced? To know our water, we need to have appropriate data. We need to have data which is reliable. This is our challenge. So if I say that what are our challenges, it is the reliable data, it's the extent, availability, and accessibility. These are the 3 factors where we have to focus in. So our data, mostly data is available in non-standardized forms. Then the states are hesitant to share the data. There is absolutely issues in sharing of data in the public domains, although some of the data is available, but not the data which we require for developing our applications and knowing our resources. So all those things we are facing with. So these are the issues basically which we feel that we have to deal. And under National Hydrology Project, we have taken that initiative. And how we are going to deal, that I'll be discussing. In fact, in the first session, forenoon session, that was a session by the World Bank, where most of the challenges were discussed. And in fact, I should say that to address those challenges, at least we are taking that initiative. I cannot say that we'll resolve all those issues, but at least we are taking all those challenges. So there have been an issue of central-state relation. There have been an issue of lack of trust between the center and the states, and even between the states. There have been a debate on open data and global data sets, utilization of open and global data sets. So that we are also taking care of. Then there was an issue related to fragmentation of data that we are also trying to resolve. Of course, that will be covered in the next part of the slide, where we are focusing on National Water Informatics Center as well as State Water Informatics Center. All those things we are covering. Only one point which we are basically may not be capturing in the current phase, that is the river basin planning. So for that, earlier we have kept that element in our system, but we later on we removed it because that sort of arrangement, which is the backing arrangement for implementing any river plan, that is not available right now. But it is not that we are not taking any initiative. We are capturing the inputs. We are capturing the inputs which are required for a reliable river basin plan under National Hydrology Project. That is what I wanted to communicate. So now we come to the challenges. Challenges, one is that, as discussed earlier also in the earlier session in the morning, with the real-time data accessibility is very less, and even if it is available, then there are issues in the quality as well as the long-term O&M. That we are trying to do through National Hydrology Project. I could give you one figure that before National Hydrology Project, there were only less than 1,000 stations, real-time stations, which were contributing data to the centralized server or centralized database. But after National Hydrology Project, right now around 9,000 stations have been established and which are contributing data. And overall, we have targeted to establish 32,000 stations pertaining to surface as well as groundwater. And then we are dealing with a hybrid annuity mode where everything is not paid at the time of installation. So bulk of the payment is related with the data supply by the vendor, and that to the validated data. That part also we are taking into the consideration. And third is that we are not only relying on the real-time data, but we know the importance of historical data, which has been captured over years or decades. So to bring that data and to validate that data, we are taking that initiative of bringing it to a centralized database. So earlier that database was hardly less than 1,000 sessions. That was of CWC only in the centralized database, and as of now these are the 80,000 stations in the nationalized database, which is being maintained by National Water Informatics Centers. Similarly, that NWIC has also been set up under NHP in 2018, and now it is being strengthened to take care of the aspirations and the other targets which have been proposed for that NWIC, and to take care of proper water resources management. So for having that mutual trust building, first of all, we have liberalized our data dissemination policy. So now the classified data is also being shared with the state implementing agencies with one-time secrecy undertaking. That's what we have done, so that the mutual trust is there. States should also share the data among themselves as well as with the center, so that the useful applications can be built up. Otherwise, data will remain data. It will never be converted into information, knowledge product, or decision support system. So that is our endeavor. And another thing which we have faced, that there is a limited use of space technologies. Although there are so many limitations associated with the space technologies, the validation is not there. But still, in the morning also we were discussing whether we should wait for perfection or we should go with the whatsoever available with us, and then we should keep on reforming it. So space technologies will give that answer to us, that let us use whatsoever is available with us, the open data sets, and then keep on reforming or improving those data sets. The only thing is that there have been some of the instances where entire hydrological processes have been turned into IT applications. So there have been sometime pushes that where the entire sanctity of hydrology is merely converted into IT system, and then that sort of system, which we can say that it is the system may not be scrupulous, and it may not give us that sort of confidence which we should have. So we are trying to plug that gap. That means the ground stations also are being established. Simultaneously, we will be using the space applications. Similarly, in order to have the data related to canals also, we are taking that initiative. Then the conversion of data into knowledge products and DSS, we are taking initiatives. And another thing is that for particularly for river basin planning, we are going for the various stakeholder consultations, which ultimately may lead to a useful river basin plan. So that is the some of the steps we are taking, although we are not helping the river basin plan. Similarly, the other issues related to integrated reservoir operation, or it is the extended hydrological prediction. So these are the advanced issues which have been taken care of some of the premier institutions of our country, like Central Water Commission, NRSC, NIH. So these are the things which we are trying to cover. So apart from that, we are hand-holding northeastern states. Okay, I'll take 2-3 minutes more. So these are the things which I'll directly come to. I'll skip some of the slides which are only informatory, that what type of works we are we are carrying, and it will be shared with you. And these are the some of the plots of the stations being installed or the activities being performed under NHP. Only one thing I wish to bring to the notice of the panelists as well as the audience here, So what should be the way forward? Right now, our pain point is the quality of the data. It's the validation part where we have to focus. And secondly, the temporal and this spatial data, it should be available as a service. It should be available as a service to the modeler community, to the researchers, not as a data. On that we need to work. Similarly, there has to be an ecosystem where states and centers should work in a synergic manner. That means the State Water Informatics Center, which the concept of which has been introduced under NHP, as well as the NWIC, they have to work in sync. Then we have to adopt the cost effective technologies. Under NHP, when we started, there was a lot of issues related to the cost of the equipments, and these have been drastically come down due to competitive environment given by the NHP. Similarly, we have to work on data services as well as data as a service. So these are the things which we need to focus. So at the end, I'd like to say that whatsoever we are doing, it should have the element of interoperability, and we should have that capability in the center and the states to handle the analytical tools as well as the decision support system. I'll end with this, that to develop synergy between water resources practitioners, researchers, industry, academia, and public. This is more important. That means the public support is also required in developing conducive ecosystem of hydroinformatics, which ultimately will lead to the better water resources management. This is our endeavor. So thanks for the patient hearing.
Thank you so much, sir. Also, our presenter, Shri.
एक और हो जाने दीजिए, एक प्रेजेंटेशन और सारे लोग ज्यादा टाइम क्यों ले रहे हैं? 10 मिनट से ज्यादा ले रहे हैं, उधर भी अनुभव ऐसे ही है। स्लाइड्स पे जो लिखा है उसको खाली तो करके वो करते जाइए ना, बाकी अपनी बात कहिए।
So our presenter, Shri Sanjay Agarwal, is here with us. I request him to please join us on the stage. I now request Dr. Anju Gaur, Task Team Leader, World Bank, to please come up on the stage for the presentation.
Good afternoon, Honorable Minister and delegation, and all the participants. Good to see you all. I'll just share briefly, and sir, I'll try to stick to my 10 minutes. Just share, this morning from the bank side, you saw lots of global tools. And here, I am into the operation of different projects. So I'll share how, thanks to my global team, who exposed us to those global tools or applications, and how we have applied into the system here, into different projects. And this is how the project could really take it forward on the possibilities. Beach wala ya? 'Cause- Yeah. So of course, bank has been fortunate to be associated with this project for last more than almost 25 years through different stages. And it's really great to see. So I'll be sharing what this achievement, as Mr. Kashyap was sharing, that more than 19,000, 20,000 stations we have today on a real-time basis across the country for real-time in canals. Also, it's coming up. And of course, river and reservoir levels are have been one of the major, and while we can see groundwater levels are also getting pretty density. Sorry. And historical data, of course, which is being integrated. So what is next now? Well, how do we use this data and club with the remote sensing, and what are the opportunities? This morning, again, some of our colleagues showed from the satellite, also you can get all this information. But now, as we say, handle with care. This is one. And second is, how can we fill the gap of, or what we call optimize both the things, fill the gap of the in situ system, what the project has been putting, and how can we supplement with the remote sensing so that both can, what you call, talk to each other. So, so let's say, for how should our future hydromet design be? I know so far we have been very strict on following World Meteorological or WMO guidelines, but I think we have now, can we have a new way of thinking? And this is what offline when I was talking with NIH, you have analyzed, okay, what is the correlation between actual rain gauges and the satellites. And this morning, as Jonathan said, maybe none of them is correct, but how do you correlate? How can you really replace or add on? You can suggest the density is less in this particular region where remote sensing cannot fulfill, and we need more in situ measurements. So this is how I think we need to now think differently and come up with the suggestions. So again, I was browsing and there are so many papers. Researchers have done it, but the researchers also have come up with their recommendation that this is the system is required with with all the institutions who are putting up the system, so that communication also has to work out. So it's not that what is correct or what is wrong, how do we help each other? This platform, the NHP, I think, and I know offline we have been talking, sir, how do we bring researchers with the two-way communication rather than they're just taking the data, doing the research, publications. And as Kashyap sir was sharing, services apply to both department as well as now we would like to say to the researchers also. So whatever your outputs are, whatever the outcome of your studies are, do also come up with like a services, what are my findings? So this is how you can really kind of help each other. So I think this morning Google Earth Engine potential was shown to all of us. And of course, as we know, this is a repository of so many imageries and free, less than 10 meter. Every 5 days, you are getting data free, or even other stuff. How exactly we are using, I'll just show you some of the examples. Planet, of course, some of these are paid, but still, they're also giving services. So let us see if we can explore those services also. So for flood forecasting, so once your data is out, there are so many global applications. And I know this morning we were talking of precision. I'm sorry, perfect is enemy of good. We have something. So if you know even 10 days in advance that this much, there will be a peak, there will be a flood is forthcoming, even this information is good enough for public to make several decisions. Of course, for reservoir operation, you need very precise. But there are 90% of the decisions of the stakeholders, they can use these such kind of indicative information and really go to the next, make their own decisions accordingly. So this is like one of the case of recent flood I come from Kota myself, so Chambal River I'm showing. How it was 10 days in advance, the flood was forecasted. And it may not be accurate, again, I'm telling you. But it's showing, there will be a peak and be ready for that. So at least you can start getting yourself ready before what you have to operate. This is another. I know this morning, again, we were talking of different models and all those things. Let me just share. This is a simple Google Earth Engine application showing water probability in different tanks. And on the right side, it's showing temporal chart based on those sentinel and those imageries. So I know water spread area on the water body. With that, I can see when the water will be available and even the investment in the tanks. We have a project of tank project. It's just such imageries are helping us in various decisions. Should we be doing OFD works if the tanks have no water? No. Should we be doing which tanks are eligible for desilting? And I know department said I have done hydrological investigations, but evidence-wise, it's not coinciding. And here we have the evidence. So this is how, as I said, we are handling with care. Not like there is a thumb rule, you just do that. So anyway, this is just another example. Let me share. In West Bengal, so for reservoir assessment, you can use these tools. And we got it done for Gujarat and Kerala. So we found remote sensing is good for Gujarat, but not for Kerala, knowing the reasons there. So it's not that everything will apply everywhere. So this we have a big project on minor irrigation in Bengal. And this map, if you share, so the project is for minor irrigation development in rain-fed regions. Yellow area is single crop. So it doesn't take a big rocket science. You don't need a big models. Where should the investment be going? So these simple imageries are really helping in making lots of strategic decisions. So this is I wanted to share as opposed to this morning, where, I mean, of course, sophisticated models are also needed, but here you can make such simple DSS for yourself and really use this information for action. Thank you.
So now I request Shri Prahlad Singh Patel, our Honorable Minister, to please speak a few words. Thank you.
आज के इस सत्र में आप सबका स्वागत है। श्री शरद चंद्र जी, निदेशक CWC, श्री राकेश कश्यप जी, डॉक्टर संजय जैन जी, डॉक्टर मंजू गौड़ जी, श्रीमती डोरेन काला जी, उपस्थित सभी मित्रों, पिछले सत्र में मैंने सबका सुनने के बाद में बोला, इसलिए मैं सोच रहा था कि पहले एक बार हमको प्रेजेंटेशंस देखने चाहिए। वहां पर जो मैंने बातें कही हैं वो कुछ अलग थी, लेकिन एक बात को यहाँ पर भी मैं रिपीट करूंगा क्योंकि वो हाइड्रोलॉजी से संबंधित है। हम सब वो लोग हैं जो लगातार काम कर रहे हैं और साथ में हमारे अनुभव भी बढ़ रहे हैं। अनुभव दोनों प्रकार के होते हैं, हमारी सफलता भी है और हमारी विफलता भी है। मैं एक बात जरूर आग्रहपूर्वक कहूंगा, हम सफलता का श्रेय भी लें और विफलताओं का भी श्रेय लें, जिम्मेदारी को स्वीकार करें। तो मुझे लगता है कि हमारे चैलेंजेस बहुत जल्दी मीट आउट होंगे और शायद हम एक दूसरे की कमियां नहीं निकालेंगे। मैं हमेशा मानता हूं कि पिछली गलतियों से जरूर सीखना चाहिए। हम अच्छी चीजें, सफलताएं भले भूल जाए, लेकिन अगर गलतियां नहीं भूलेंगे तो पुनरावृत्ति नहीं होगी, ये बात बड़ी पक्की है। मैं दो तीन चीजें मुझे लगती हैं हाइड्रोलॉजी के बगैर शायद समय के साथ इसकी इंपॉर्टेंस बढ़ती जानी है, क्योंकि हमारे पास में संसाधन उतने ही है और हमारी आबादी, अगर हम बहुत पीछे ना जाए, देश की आज़ादी के दिन की ही कैलकुलेशन को सही मान लें तो आपको लगेगा कि हमें कितना करना बाकी है और हमें किस तेज गति के साथ करना होगा। दूसरी बात जो शायद आपको लगेगी कि रिलीवेंट नहीं लगती मेरा कहना, लेकिन ये पूरी तरह से रिलीवेंट है कि हम वो देश है जो साम्राज्यवादी नहीं है। हम दूसरे की जमीन पर कब्जा करके आने वाली पीढ़ी का भविष्य नहीं देखते हैं और इसलिए बढ़ती जनसंख्या के घनत्व के सामने हमारे संसाधन कम पड़ जाएंगे, तब हमारी स्थिति क्या होगी, ये हमारे लिए बड़ा चैलेंज है। और इसलिए जब कभी हम देखते हैं तो हमें इन बातों का जरूर ध्यान रखना चाहिए। मैं नहीं मानता कि आप जैसे लोगों को इस बारे में नहीं सोचना चाहिए, आप जैसे लोगों को जरूर सोचना चाहिए कि आखिरकार हम संसाधन लेकर कहाँ से आएंगे। फिर तीसरा जो चैलेंज है कि ठीक है, हमारी नदियाँ होंगी, हमारे पानी गिरने के जो तरीके पैटर्न हैं वो होंगे, हमारे पास में एक अच्छे डेटा कलेक्शंस हैं जिसके निश्चित रूप से आप बधाई के पात्र हैं कि अगर हम डेफिसिट बेसन की बात और सरप्लस बेसन की बात कर पा रहे हैं तो हमारी जानकारी के आधार पर ही तो हम कर पा रहे हैं। लेकिन उस सब के बावजूद भी हम जिन बातों को देखते हैं कि अभी भी वो चैलेंजेस हैं और जिनको हमें समय के साथ बल्कि समय के पहले पूरा करना होगा। मैं मध्य प्रदेश से आता हूँ। नर्मदा नदी है जो सिर्फ किसी ग्लेशियर की मदद से नहीं बहती, खाली वहाँ की जंगल की ताकत या सतपुड़ा, विंध्याचल और मैकल पर्वत के दम पर वो नदी सरवाइव कर रही है। लेकिन आज की स्थिति में जब मैं देखता हूँ, जब उस पर डैम्स ऑफ चेन बन रहे थे, यानी बड़ी श्रृंखला थी बांधों की, तो कुछ लोगों ने विरोध करने के लिए विरोध किया होगा, लेकिन सच्चाई ये है कि जब आप एक नदी पर बांधों की श्रृंखला बनाते हैं तो आप उन चेंजों को भी तो देखिए कि जब एक बांध बना था तो चलिए तब तक तो रेगुलेटर की तरह नहीं होता था, लेकिन अब तो हमने नदी को लगभग नहर बना दिया है जो आपकी मर्जी से बहती है और आपकी मर्जी से उसका फ्लो कम हो जाता है। तो हाइड्रोलॉजी के जो आंकड़े हैं वो आंकड़े फिर हम आपको कैसे स्टेबल कर पाएंगे कि आप इसको करेंगे। पिछली बैठक में मैंने वहां कहा था
कि नदियों की सिल्ट स्पीड आकलन करने का तरीका नदी के प्रवाह भर में नहीं होता। जब बरसात के समय जब आप उस रफ्तार को देखते हैं, वहां की जियोलॉजी को देखते हैं और वहां के डेटा को देखने के बाद आप डिसाइड करते हैं। लेकिन अगर आपने 50 साल पहले किसी नदी की सिल्ट स्पीड डिसाइड की है और उसके बाद में अगर 50 साल बाद हमारे पास कोई मैकेनिज्म ही नहीं है, हमें तय नहीं कर पाए कि हर 10 साल बाद हमें किसी नदी के सिल्ट स्पीड का फिर से पुनर्मूल्यांकन करना चाहिए। जैसे आप जनसंख्या का करते हैं, आप नदी का भी कर सकते हैं। तो मुझे लगता है कि जो आज जो गाद की समस्या है वो शायद उसी कारण से हम अपने बांधों की गाद को नहीं निकाल पाए। और जब मैं ये बात कहता हूं तो हमेशा ये बात कहता हूं कि जब हाइड्रोलॉजी का काम है कि हम हर सब प्रकार की गतिविधियों को ऑब्जर्व करें, तो हमारे जो सेंटर्स काम करते हैं उन सेंटर्स पर भी हमें कैलेंडर देना चाहिए कि आपका रेड जोन कौन सा होगा, आपको कब बेहतर अलर्ट पोजीशन पर रहना होगा। क्योंकि मैं जब एक बार 90 के दशक में मैं संसद सदस्य था, तो मैंने जब बांध में बरगी बांध में सारे गेट खोले और उस समय सरदार सरोवर कंप्लीट नहीं हुआ था और उसके बाद में वहां पर भी बाढ़ आई थी और सूरत में पानी पानी हो गया था। अगर शायद अपस्ट्रीम पर पानी बंद नहीं होता तो आप जिस तबाही की कल्पना नहीं कर सकते थे। तो मुझे लगता है कि जब डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट के बारे में हम प्लान करते हैं तो सिवाय आपके अलावा कोई दूसरा इसको ऑब्जर्व नहीं कर सकता। ये बड़ा चैलेंज है और इसलिए हमको जानकारी देने के लिए बाकी जो चैलेंजेस आपने बताए हैं कि राज्य को और केंद्र को मिलकर काम करना पड़ेगा। एक बात बिल्कुल मोटे तौर पर जो आंकड़ा आपने दिया है, जितना मैं देखता हूं आंकड़े के तौर पर, कि सरप्लस बेसन और डेफिसिट बेसन के बीच में जो गैप है वो अंतर्राज्यीय ही है, हमेशा उसमें राज्य शामिल होने ही है। तो मैकेनिज्म तो आपको ही देना चाहिए, आपको ही तय करना चाहिए कि इन मामलों में केंद्र के लेवल पर ही कोई भी हमें फ्रेमवर्क बनाना होगा। अगर हम बनाएंगे तो हम बहुत जल्दी से इन चैलेंजेस को मीट आउट कर पाएंगे, हम उनको ठीक कर पाएंगे। तो मैं तीसरी बात ये कहता हूं कि कम से कम हम सबको इन बातों पर कभी ना कभी एक रिसर्च स्कॉलर की तरह भी काम करना चाहिए। कोई आदमी सिर्फ पेपर दे देता है या खाली वो कर लेगा, मैं इन बातों को नहीं मानता। मैं मानता हूं कि अब ये बदलता हुआ दौर है। अगर हम किसी बांध और नदी की बात करते हैं तो एक समय श्री अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी ने 90 में राज्यसभा में कहा था कि तीसरा विश्व युद्ध पानी पीने के पानी के लिए होगा। लेकिन आज आप 2024 में जब हर घर तक पानी पहुंचाने की बात करते हो और जब 30 साल का आकलन करते हो कि सोर्स का क्या होगा, तो अल्टीमेट आप बांध की तरफ जाते हो कि जो बांध है वही हमको गारंटी के साथ में पीने का पानी दे सकता है। इसका मतलब है कि हमारी प्राथमिकता बदल गई है। पहले सिंचाई के लिए आप बांध बनाते थे, अब पीने के पानी के लिए बांध की आपको जरूरत है और इसलिए आपको एक कंपोनेंट तय करना होगा और वो फ्लो के साथ में तय नहीं होगा। तो मुझे लगता है कि इन चीजों को कहीं ना कहीं हमें एक साथ देखना होगा। मैं पूछ रहा था कि ये सर्वे ऑफ इंडिया क्या है, मैंने पूछा जैसे ही आप वो चैलेंजेस बता रहे थे। तो कुल मिलाकर आप उसमें सिल्ट स्पीड देख रहे हो कि हमारे पास में हमारी कैपेसिटीज का क्या होगा। तो अल्टीमेट आप एक साइकिल पर ही काम करेंगे, आप किसी भी सब्जेक्ट को लेकर आएंगे। और इसलिए मैं मानता हूं कि हम चीजों को देखें। मैं मैडम की बात भी सुन रहा था, तब मैं पूछ रहा था, देखिए वित्तीय प्रबंधन एक अनिवार्य हिस्सा है हमारे सारे कामकाज का, लेकिन वित्तीय प्रबंधन के बीच में आने वाली अड़चनों पर भी तो हमें विचार करना पड़ेगा। वो प्राकृतिक होंगी, वो मैनुअल होंगी, किन भी कारणों से होगा। उन चीजों को अगर हमने प्रॉपर तरीके से साइंटिफिक तरीके से ऑब्जर्व किया तो मैं मानता हूं कि हम अपने आंकड़ों को बेहतर कर पाएंगे। जब हम अपने मन से चैलेंज को स्वीकार करते हैं कि हमारे डेटा में अभी भी कमियां हैं या डेटा को जिस तेजी के साथ हमको सामने रखना चाहिए, तो मुझे लगता है कि जब हम ये स्वीकार करते हैं तो उसी समय हमको ये मान लेना चाहिए यदि हमारे पास में एक्चुअल डेटा नहीं है या समय के साथ बदलाव के साथ में हमारे पास में डेटा कलेक्शन नहीं है, तो जो भी योजना हम बनाएंगे उसके 100% सफलता की बात भी हमको नहीं करनी चाहिए। ये बात आप तय मानकर चलिए, क्योंकि उन्हीं डेटा के आधार पर ही तो आपकी सफलता तय होगी। अगर मैं ये अनुमान ना लगा पाऊं कि 30 साल बाद इस देश की आबादी कितनी होगी तो मैं खाद्यान्न कितना ही पैदा कर लूं, वो तो कम पड़ने वाला है अगर मेरे दोनों के बीच में कोई मैच नहीं है तो। और इसलिए अगर हमने दोनों बातों को भी ऑब्जर्व कर लिया और जमीन का रकबा नहीं है तो आप मानकर चलिए कि आप इस चैलेंज को कभी मीट आउट नहीं कर सकते। आपके पास जमीन है, लेकिन अगर आपने उसमें सिंचाई की क्षमता नहीं दी है तो आप उसको कैसे अचीव करेंगे? तो मुझे लगता है कि जब कभी इन बातों पर हम चर्चा करें तो हम समग्रता में चर्चा करें, और हमें भारत के इस भूगोल को ध्यान में रखकर ही हमारे बारे सारे कामकाज के बारे में सोचना चाहिए। मुझे लगता है कि इतना ही मेरा आपसे आग्रह होगा। मंत्रालय ने जिस प्रकार से सारे जल से जुड़े चीजों को एक साथ एक स्थान पर प्रधानमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में ये काम किया है, मुझे लगता है ये शैली का ये बदलाव समय की जरूरत है, और वो जरूरत सिर्फ मंत्रालय के में हो जाने से पूरी नहीं होगी, हमारे कामकाज में भी ये बदलाव दिखना चाहिए। इतना ही मैं आप सबसे करूं आग्रह करता हूं, और ये बात मैं फिर से कहूंगा, विफलता कोई हमारी नीयत अगर ठीक है और मेरा असेसमेंट खराब हो गया तो अपराध नहीं है, मैंने तो अच्छे के लिए किया था, लेकिन हो सकता है कि किसी प्राकृतिक परिवर्तन या किसी एक आध कमी के कारण हो सकता है मेरे अनुमान में गलती हो जाए, तो ये तो अपराध नहीं हो सकता, इस बात के लिए क्यों घबराने की जरूरत है। लेकिन हाँ, हमें ये स्वीकार करना चाहिए कि साहब ये गड़बड़ था। मैंने पिछले उसमें इसलिए एक उदाहरण भी दिया था कि हम जब कभी कोई जियोलॉजिकल सर्वे में कोई थोड़ी बहुत चूक कर देते हैं या हाइड्रोलॉजी के आकलन में जरा भी हमारे जो मेजरमेंट में गड़बड़ होगी तो आने वाले समय में वो निश्चित रूप से विपरीत प्रभाव देगी। तो मुझे लगता है कि वो अनुकूल होगा या प्रतिकूल होगा ये तो समय के साथ तय होगा, लेकिन हमारी नीयत में अगर खोट नहीं है तो मुझे लगता है कि हम बेहतर काम कर रहे हैं, और किसी भी गलती से अगर हम कोई सीख लेते हैं तो वो हमारे लिए भी अच्छा होगा और आने वाली पीढ़ी के लिए भी अच्छा होगा। आपको मैं इधर से इस सत्र के लिए जो मंच पर बैठे हुए हमारे सभी मेहमान हैं या एक्सपर्ट्स हैं, वो सामने बैठे हुए जो अनुभवी लोग हैं जिनको आगे भी इस पूरी व्यवस्था को आगे ले जाना है, उन सबको मैं इधर से बधाई देता हूं और आपका आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। धन्यवाद।
Thank you so much, sir. Now I request Sri Anand Mohan ji to please felicitate our Honorable Minister of State for Jal Shakti, Shri Prahlad Singh Patel. And thank you so much, sir, for gracing us with your presence. Now I invite Shri Sharat Chandra, Director, Central Water Commissioner, to please come up on the stage.
आदरणीय मंत्री महोदय, अध्यक्ष और co-chair of the session, thank you for providing me this opportunity. If you see in the last few years, releases from the reservoirs and flooding in the downstream. Sir, thank you, sir. So if we see in the last few years, releases from the reservoirs and flooding in the downstream areas has been a issue. Either we see the 2018 Kerala flood, or we see the 2016 Bihar flood due to releases from Bansagar Dam, or we see even in 2021 there was releases from Sindh Dam. There is a Sindh river tributary of Yamuna, and there is a Manikheda Dam and releases from that dam, and that has caused huge havoc in the downstream areas. So genesis of integrated reservoir operation for flood moderation purposes, necessity of that was realized that this is very much necessary. Next. I think there is no need of overemphasizing that there is need of storages in this part of the world, because we have huge spatial as well as temporal rainfall availability and consequently the water availability, spatially as well as temporally. For especially if we construct a dam or reservoir and then we can transfer water from deficit basin to the surplus basin, and temporarily during the flood, we can store the water in the reservoir and can release during the when there is no rainfall. So there is no need of overemphasizing the need of storages in our country. From water resources engineering perspective, dams by design are for flood moderation, and the dams provides the flood moderation benefits in a twin way of lag as well as attenuation. But then if we keep the water reservoir level very high during the peak monsoon, then we are inviting the trouble. This is the general different type of zones in a reservoir. Challenge before us is that we don't have dams for dedicated flood moderation. We have multi-purpose dams. So we have to meet the conservational demand as well as the flood moderation benefits. And both objectives are both are contrary. For flood moderation, we have to keep the dams empty, whereas for conservation demands, we want to fill the reservoir as soon as possible. If we have dedicated flood cushion dams, then we can keep that portion always empty, and whenever inflow is coming, we can store that. But here, due to our own challenges, pressure on the land, population pressure, we are generally constructing multi-purpose dams. So for flood moderation point of view, generally we can operate the reservoirs in three ways. Firstly, either through the rule levels, constructing the upper rule level for flood moderation purpose, and then lower rule levels for meeting the conservational demands. Even we can create the rule levels for compromising with, say, 10% demand, conservational demand, or 20% conservational. So this is the one way. And then between the two levels, upper rule levels and lower rule levels, we can carry out simulation. Computing ability available. Second method may be through the use of inflow forecasting. We can see in this graph that there is a inflow flood hydrograph in blue color. So if we are not using the forecast, then we will release from the reservoir in the indicated in the red color. That is, we will release high releases we will make. But if we know the inflow forecast, we can release lesser amount of water, and we can achieve the flood moderation benefits in the downstream areas. And third method can be hybrid way, utilizing the rule levels as well as inflow forecast, and then carry out optimization between those two levels. And that is the best method for reservoir operation for flood moderation purpose. So challenge before us presently was that reservoirs were mostly being operated in a standalone manner. So problem is also compounded that I was talking for a standalone reservoir, because in many basins there are cascading reservoirs as well as some reservoirs are in parallel. So simple principle for cascading reservoirs can be that you deplete the downstream, most downstream reservoirs, and then release from the upstream. But problem is more complicated when there are reservoirs in parallel. Then you cannot release simultaneously from all parallel reservoirs. You can release from one reservoir, and then you can see that what flood moderation benefits we can achieve in the. So since up till now, we were using the reservoir mostly as a standalone matter. So we had the opportunity to prepare a decision support system to achieve the flood moderation benefits in the downstream area. So with that point of view, Central Water Commission has prepared an integrated reservoir operation plan for different river basins. And so we have selected 74 reservoirs, and we have adopted a cluster approach. And we have identified nearly 26 systems, and damage centers identified were immediately downstream of the one reservoir or immediately downstream of a system of reservoirs, and then for the whole basin. Number of reservoirs may vary, because when we started Ganga, we have taken 11 major reservoirs, but as the progress has been made, we added 4 reservoirs, depending upon the flooding situation from the reservoir. So this is the integrated reservoir operation for Ganga Basin is presently being implemented under NHP, and in which 4 subsystems had been identified. First is Upper Ganga, then the Chambal system, second subsystem, then third is this Betwa system, and then fourth is Son system. So we will prepare the decision support system so that we can achieve the maximum flood moderation benefits immediately downstream of the each dam, immediately downstream of the system of the dam, and then for the whole Ganga after the Patna, lower Ganga basin. So similarly for all basins, we have identified the different clusters. We are moving fast. For all basins, we have carried out this exercise, identification of different clusters. So now challenge is to prepare a DSS, decision support system, and also to establish an institutional mechanism, because generally project authorities are the state government or some public undertaking. So for preparation of DSS under NHP, we have given the consultancy. Through that we are carrying. And for institutional mechanism, we have established a flood crisis management team headed by our regional chief engineers and members from all state governments. So they will issue the advisory depending upon the result of the decision support system. Not these 2 minutes. So in which cooperation from all state government, sir. So overall objective of the project is to develop a decision support system and integrate it with the WIMS or India Waris and now this IWCMS, Integrated Water Crop Management System. So project is of development phase is of 18 months, and then this testing phase for 2 flood season, and then it will have 2 years AMC maintenance of this. So already some progress has been made. So this has been the status of the project. Inception report has already been submitted in December 2021. Then data collection and compilation report have been submitted in April 22. A report along with data for naturalization of flow in July 22. Then draft final report of modeling, and these 3 reports are under review consideration. 2 standout benefits with the progress of the project is that so these are the 2 benefits that we simulated for 2019 September Chambal flood, and we found that if we utilize the 2-day inflow forecast, we can substantially achieve the flood moderation by reducing the discharge from there dam for a longer period, and then can be achieve the. But as we move towards the 4-day inflow forecast, we find that not much benefit is being realized. This is also due to the as the lead period increases, this accuracy of the inflow forecast that is guided by the rainfall forecast is accuracy is decreasing. Second benefit is that is a by-project that when we are creating, it has a help in correcting the outlier data as well as filling the gaps. That's all. So these 2 benefits I have already mentioned. So development phase of 18 months will be completed in March 2023, and then testing of DSS will start from flood season 2023. Thank you. So hopefully if results comes good, this will be replicated to other basins also. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And once again, on behalf of India Water Week, I really thank Shri Prahlad Singh Patel, Honorable Minister of State for Jal Shakti and Food Processing Industries. Thank you so much, sir, for gracing us with your presence. It was indeed a great pleasure to have you here with all of us. Can we have a huge round of applause for our Minister? Thank you so much. So to all the presenters, I request you to please stick to the time limit. We are really running out of time, so it's a humble request for everyone to please stick to the time limit. I also request our speaker, Shri Karthik SR, Deputy Director, National Water Informatics, to please come up on the stage.
for an.
I now request Ms. Edu.
I request all the listeners who are there in the take note of the questions you want to raise before a particular speaker whom you have heard, and now you are going to hear those speakers. Just take note of the name of the speaker, and when there will be a question answer session, you pose the question with respect to a particular speaker or maybe a group of speakers. So accordingly, you will get the answer to that.
So now I request Ms. Edu Bla, Chief Engineer, Water Resources Department, Government of Meghalaya, Shillong, to please come up on the stage.
Respected Chairman, sir, and all the panelists and all the delegates present here. I am here today on behalf of all the implementing agencies of NHP in the Northeast. As all of us could not be here, I'm representing all of them. As it is like the situation, the scenario, the challenges faced by Meghalaya is similar in all the Northeastern states. So I'm here to present the importance of NHP activity in water resources management in the state of Meghalaya and spring studies in the Northeast. A brief history of the Water Resources Department in the state of Meghalaya. Since the inception of the state, 1972 up to 2002, it was just a minor irrigation wing headed by the superintending engineer, and it was functioning under the Directorate of Agriculture. And in December 22, a separate Directorate of Irrigation headed by the chief engineer was created under the Agriculture Department. But in August 2009, a separate Water Resources Department was created. So it was after so many years of working as only in the construction of minor irrigation projects, after the creation of the Water Resources Department, we had to shift, and we had the scope of work became broader, and we had to shift the focus to water resources and not only irrigation. And it was quite difficult because the mindset was stuck in irrigation. So thankfully, it was in NHP came. I think it was a good time that NHP happened, and it was a help to all to our state. So the main activities taken up under the NHP are the construction of the State Water Resources Data Center, which has been completed, furnished with all IT equipments, and we have RTDA stations with telemetry, 25 numbers, 5 AWS, 18 groundwater monitoring stations with include DWLR, and the water quality lab, which is also housed in the same building as the data center. Meghalaya is a state which has two basins. The upper portion is the basin under the Brahmaputra basin, and the lower basin is under the Barak and others basin. And the size of these basins, the area are almost the same. So the upper basin goes to Assam, and in Assam and goes to Assam, and the lower rivers in the lower basin, they all flow to Bangladesh. These are the stations that have been set up under NHP. And I would just like to say that those 25 stations in the beginning, when we were asked to choose, to select the stations, it was quite difficult for us. And we came up with like more than 100 stations to be set up. But thankfully, we are so fortunate that CWC Shillong is there and we discussed with them, and they explained to us, like, when you set up a station, you should know your purpose. What is the purpose of having that station? So understanding that, we brought the number has come down to 25. We have the stations where we plan to have the water resources projects in the future. So we need data for those rivers. And in the upper basin, the Brahmaputra basin upper, even the stations in the bordering Assam, they can also serve as the flood forecasting stations for Assam. And these are the groundwater monitoring stations. The selection of these stations was also in consultation with CGWB office in Shillong. So these are the important points, the importance of NHP activity in Meghalaya. Now we can have reliable data which we didn't have before. We didn't have any stations in our department. Of course, other departments like the Meghalaya Electricity Control Corporation Limited, they have in their hydroelectric power stations, but our department didn't have data, but now we can have the reliable data. And then we have also proposed to set up the State Water Informatics Center, and it'll be housed in the same building as the State Water Resources Center. Then through NHP, there was a lot of capacity building for the officers. They have learned GIS, they have learned, started to learn modeling now. And NISAC also is there. It's a more very important organization which is based in our state. And they already have this model called FLUS, Flood Early Warning System, which they have already implemented in Assam. But since around 2017-18, they wanted to implement the same model in Meghalaya. They were asking for ground data from us, but at that time, since we didn't have, so from now onwards, we can share these data with them as they already have the model. And we are already on the job of establishment of the Meghalaya State Water Resources Information System. We are very eager to start this state WARIS. And under NHP, we feel so fortunate that we could associate with the various reputed organizations of the country, which we wouldn't have been able to learn, to associate with if not for NHP. And we have learned so much from them, the support. And we have taken up studies. We have been able to take up studies under the NHP. The studies that we selected were based on the real situation, the demand that we have in our state. Like the floodplain zoning, we never thought of that before. Now we have just completed this consultancy service for floodplain zoning of 4 important rivers in the state. Then the river morphology study is being done by IIT Guwahati. Then the development of water accounts is being done by NIH Roorkee. Benchmarking of minor irrigation projects also we are doing now. We have just started. We didn't understand about this also before. We were asked, I remember we used to get letters from CWC to do this, but really we didn't understand. But now we are doing with IARI. Then we have the water quality study in Giant Hills, which are the coal mining districts where the water quality has been badly affected. That study, PDS, is being done with CPCB, Regional Directorate in Shillong. Then the flood study with NIH, and the spring inventory is being done in-house. After our officers were being trained by NIH and CGWB. So like springs are the very important sources of water in the Northeast. That's why we are taking up this inventory of springs. So this is a dashboard that we have developed online. We can see like this 2189 was a few days back, and just now before the session started, we got the live update that the total number of springs mapped is 2934. So it is a live dashboard, and we can see the location of these. And once you click on each and every location, you can see the attributes of that spring along with the photograph. So in conclusion, I would like to thank the World Bank, the Ministry of Jal Shakti, NPMU, TMC, who have been supporting us all from the beginning of NHP up till now. And we believe that from now onwards, we can go ahead, and we feel more equipped with the support from them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I now invite Shri Sanjay Agarwal to please come up on the stage for the presentation.
Good afternoon, respected JS sir, dignitaries on the dais, august audience. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I am thankful to Ministry of Jal Shakti, Government of Rajasthan, and World Bank for this National Hydrology project, and becoming the part of such type of project is really grateful. And I'm thankful I'm working for this project for last 7 years, and I have gained so much from this project because this project has changed the way we can manage the water. Today I am discussing here the importance of National Hydrology Project in water management of Rajasthan. As everybody knows, Rajasthan is a water scarce state and hardly we have less than 2% of the water for the nation. But this is the need of our for Rajasthan because we have to manage the water well, because this is we have no other options. After national hydrology projects, we have meet many challenges, but firstly, the challenges we have already facing. Operations and maintenance of the reservoirs in the canal system. Before NHP, we have all the operations were manual, mostly for all the dams and all the canal systems. And also hydrometeorology and meteorological data collection was manual. So it takes so much times and efforts. So always we have to gather the data, and it takes even days for collecting data and preparing the reports. So we have got limited infrastructure when it comes to the designing IT and training centers, inadequate data acquisition system, and the poor management of the historical records. Almost all the records were in the hard copies, and it was very difficult to collect these data or gather these data from all these records. Records were in mutilated conditions. So these were the biggest challenge in front of the Rajasthan. And the capacity building was also, then these are the intervention that we have done under this project. Firstly, automation, then data acquisition system, then data dissemination, infrastructure improvement, and capacity building. These major 5 interventions we have made under this project. Firstly, if we're talking about the automation, we have done RTDA system for groundwater as well as surface water. So more than 400 station has been installed in the Rajasthan for groundwater measurements and rainfall, reservoir monitoring, and river monitoring. Also, about 70 more stations installation is under progress, and 400 DWLR is also proposed. We have already completed the SCADA system over 4 major dams and 2 canal systems, and also under progress for 6 more systems. So now we have achieved so many things in the SCADA. Now our system, 2 major canal system is from SCADA system. And now we are controlling and monitoring the water through SCADA system. We have already monitoring 2 stations on real-time water quality system. Also, we have used acoustic Doppler current profiler for accurate water measurements in the rivers and the canal system. These are the monitoring of dams and canal system using the CCTV on the SCADA. This is the SCADA screen, live SCADA screen over which we can use in monitoring and controlling. Now coming on to the data acquisition. Under this project, we have digitized all the historical records available in the WR departments, and lakhs of reports, pages, and thousands of maps has been digitized under this project. Command area maps are now digitized. All the water bodies and canal network is now installed on the GIS network. 8,000 key wells records are now digitized. So these data are now available on the click. So this is a big achievement when it comes to NHP for Rajasthan. Database creation has been under progress, and one module is already created for the rainfall system. And all these data we have sharing on the WIMS portal, so anybody can visit and see extract these data. We have completed the river cross-section survey. We have completed the rating curve development. Now, the important part is data dissemination, because if there is a data, but that data is not shared with the researchers, user or stakeholders, then there is no value of that data. So we are now focusing most on this data dissemination system, and we are live for all 400 stations of using these data. On the hourly data is available. Live SCADA of 3 dams available on our portal. Real-time water quality monitoring is also live. All the canal system with attributes are live on the portal. So any stakeholder can see that this is the canal structure and these are the attributes of these canals. Development of dashboard for early data visualization or RTDA, SCADA, historical records, we are developing it. So this is the screen for data dissemination. This is the data SCADA. Then we have completed infrastructure capacity building. We have about 800 officers with more than 30 trainings. So what is the impact on water management in Rajasthan? Now, with the real-time monitoring of surface water and groundwater, we are in a position to take decision at the right time, because now data is available with us on right time. This also brings the transparency amongst the users, because now farmers know this much of water is available in their canal system, and accordingly they are planning their crops. I just wanted to narrate one example here. On Gang and Bhakra canal system, local administration has developed a mobile app and also using our SCADA data for their use. So in that way, water management is changed in Rajasthan because of these National Hydrology project. So now we are more focusing on the WRI's dashboard creation so that we can create data disseminate to the public on the real-time basis and develop real-time decision support system. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. May I invite last but not the least speaker, Shri Karthik SR, Director, National Water Informatics Center.
Good afternoon, Joint Secretary, sir. Good afternoon, everyone in the dais, and also the qualified audience which we have for today. As Joint Secretary said today in his opening remarks that NHP is a futuristic project, and these two projects which I'm going to give an introduction about is what he exactly meant when he says it is a futuristic project. And these two projects which I'm talking about is Integrated Water and Crop Information and Management System, acronym IWCMS, and the second one is State Water Informatics Center, SWIC. So the data which is being collected under various modes from, through NHP is going to play a major part in these two projects, IWSIMS and SWIC. So, and also not just both the projects are not limited to only the water domain. It now the scope is being expanded to touch upon the other allied themes of water resources like agriculture and remote sensing data. So in this presentation, I will give a brief introduction and the status update, what has happened so far in both these projects. So in IWCMS, the feasibility study is complete. So now soon we will be moving ahead with the implementation phase. These are the results of the feasibility study. We have finalized on 9 themes, 28 decision support system applications. Apart from the DSS application, 40 applications are proposed to be subsumed. These 40 applications belongs to the internal organizations of Ministry of Jal Shakti. And we have concluded upon 272 use cases, and for each use cases, we are going to finalize business specific requirements. And to achieving these applications, we have identified 1,800 unique data points. So these are the themes which we are going to touch upon in IWCMS, which includes the event analysis, and we will be expanding WIMS, the Water Information Management System, to capture the additional water resources data, water harvesting modules and water utilization modules, which will be involving modeling and analytics. The water quality sensors, and the water quality module includes the information related to quality parameters. And we are going to set up a geospatial analytics lab where we will be geotagging all the water resources assets at national level. So these are the major, flow chart, how the IWSIMS is going to flow. The surface water resources themes would include reservoir management, where, as Sharat Chandra sir said, the application which is developing, which is being under development for Ganga Basin, will be part of this module, and further for other basins, the applications will be developed under this. The dam health, presently CWC is managing the Dharma portal, and that also will be part of this system IWCMS, and where the states will be entering the data for this periodic reports inspection, that will be part of this application. Management module and other two applications under surface water resources theme. The groundwater resources theme includes groundwater management and spillshed management. The water utilization, the various utilizations of water is being covered in this module, involving irrigation being the major part of it, crop water requirement, industrial water, drinking water, and grey water management. The water quality module involves two parts, surface and groundwater. The water harvesting theme, underwater harvesting thing. Okay, sorry. I have more slides to catch up, so I'll move ahead. So these are the major organizations of Ministry of Jal Shakti we have consulted, which includes 31 in number. As you are all part of Ministry of Jal Shakti, most of them, you know what are these agencies are. And these are the external agencies of the department, which we have consulted for integrating their data into our system. And so moving on, even though at the center level we are going to get the data, macro level data from multiple sources, the micro level data, which is the demand side data, is primarily available with the states. So we are planning to set up a state water informatics center where it will function similar to NWIC at state level. The data would not limit only the implementing agencies of NHP. The department should also integrate with all the line departments dealing with the water and bring the data into one platform. So this is the idea and the of NWIC, and which is going to be a single repository for all water resources data on a geospatial analytics platform. And the advantages of the SWIC includes the data will be easily accessed, and there will be a unified standards and policy all over the country. The modules which are available at the center will be quickly deployed at the state level, and there will be a knowledge base available for all over the country to share and replicate. So the scope of SWIC and role of NWIC I skip. So we have categorized the states into two categories. There's model 1 and model 2. Model 1 are the states which are lacking presently in the setting up of SWIC. The model 2 are the advanced states which already have a basic setup to collect the information. So I'll go to the present status. Presently, 9 states have signed a MOA with us for setting up of NWIC. 8 states have signed up as a Model 1 state, and 1 state, which is Karnataka, has signed up as a Model 2 state. And the lead department have been identified for 15 states. We have also conducted training for 5 states to expose them to the idea of SWIC, and also we have trained them, hands-on training have been given to these 5 states on how to create the layers and how to create dashboards. VMs have been shared with a 6 number of states. And I think Rajasthan state have already started updating their information in the VM, and so the basic infrastructure required for SWIC is the same as any office setup, with the basic setup of computers and power supply is required. That's all. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. And sorry to cut you in between because we were really short of time. And I think we just have scope of 1 or 2 questions, as Mohan sir said. So would you like to open the floor for questions? But we will have to quickly wrap this up so we can take 1 or 2. You may please raise your hand if anyone wants to ask any questions.
Good afternoon, everybody. As covered in this session, that is challenges in water sector. So NHP is doing number of activities and studies to solve this problem. We can say that we are working on different modeling, DSS, water accounting plus groundwater modeling, number of studies and number of activities. So to cover those, this session was organized, and just within 5 minutes, I will summarize whatever have been presented in this particular session. So first session, presentation was made by Mr. Rakesh Kashyap, Senior Joint Commissioner, and he is taking active part in this National Hydrology Project. He described the objectives and different components, studies, RTDAS, DSS, etc. in his presentation. Then a presentation was made by Dr. Anju Gaud, who is TTL from World Bank, and she is a motivating power, I can say, to carry out number of studies in under NHP. She covered a very important aspect, that is hydroinformatics, and that is the need of the hour. So she presented remote sensing data, role of DSS, etc. in her presentation. Then the third presentation was made by Sri Sarat Chandra. It was on integrated reservoir operation, which is again a very important aspect. So he covered the challenges, the rule levels, the inflow forecast, gaps, opportunities, and solution in his presentation. And the next presentation, which was from Northeast, which is again, I will say that under NHP this time, Northeast states are taking very active part. They are coming up for the first time in hydrology project, and number of studies they are doing. So she covered the NHP activities and particularly the spring studies, which are very important in Northeast state. So she covered all that aspects of Northeast states. Then the fifth presentation was from the Rajasthan, that is water resources management in Rajasthan. And Mr. Sanjay Agarwal is there from WRD Rajasthan. So he covered the challenges in Rajasthan and what are the interventions in Rajasthan under NHP. So he covered all the aspects of RTDAS, SCADA, ADCP, etc. and how much they have been benefited by this NHP. So he covered all that aspects. And the last presentation, which is again, I will say is very important, because as we know that data is backbone for all the hydrological studies. So he presented about one of the important management system that they have developed, that is integrated water and crop information and water management system, in which he has covered, Mr. Karthik presented from NWIC, the key features of this particular system and the role of NWIC, because NWIC is taking care of all the data. And again, I will say that if you are getting online data, then most of our problem which are related to data can be solved out. So these are the 6 presentations which have been presented nicely and in timely manner. I have seen that number of times they have shown the card of time, but in this brief time, they have presented very well all the presentations. Thank you very much.
I invite questions from the listeners who have shown a keen interest in listening to things. It was a highly technical sort of a session. If anybody is there who could ask some questions to speakers, it would be a nice thing. Yeah.
My question is to NWIC. I am I have been a member in Central Water Commission previously, and my question is to NWIC. Is there any move to further liberalize the data release policy, particularly for at least Ganga Basin, if not Brahmaputra and
You should
Indus?
please introduce yourself, gentlemen.
I am N.K. Mathur, former member of Central Water Commission, and
Sir, the data dissemination policy, we are introducing into two aspects. The one is for the states to share the data with the co-basin states. The other one is for the central to share the data for a classified states. So the draft state data dissemination policy is ready, and it is already circulated to states for their concurrence, and for I mean they have to take it up to their higher ups for approval. And the central policy is being revised, sir. And further liberalization is happening in the policy.
So now we'll begin with the felicitation ceremony, and I would like to thank all our distinguished speakers, our chair and co-chair, for indeed a very insightful session. So I now request Shri Kushagra Sharma, Senior Joint Commissioner, NHP, to please come up on the stage and felicitate our chair, Shri Anand Mohan. I request Shri Kushagra Sharma to please felicitate Dr. Sanjay Jain. I now request our chair, Shri Anand Mohan, to please present the mementos to our esteemed speakers, Shri Rakesh Kashyap. To Dr. Anju Gaur. Shri Sharad Chandra. I now request Dr. Sanjay Jain to please felicitate our esteemed speakers, Miss A. Doreen Blah. I request Mr. Jain to present the memento to Shri Sanjay Agarwal. I request Mr. Jain to felicitate Shri Karthik SR. Thank you once again to all our panelist speakers and our chair and co-chair for this session. I request everyone to please stand up for a group picture. And to all our audience and guests who are sitting here, I request you to please stay back for our next session. We'll be starting in exactly 10 minutes. And once you leave, please collect your goodie bags from NHP. Thank you so much.